That's it. That's all it is. I was actually going to call it, dude, and then the chair squeaks a little bit. I was actually going to call it Dudes, but apparently there's a podcast already called Dudes.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know who owns it, but it didn't look like it'd been published.
Yeah, hasn't been active for a while.
Yeah. So what you up to, man?
Nah, nothing much, man.
This is episode number. We haven't decided whether or not we're going to curse on this. What do you think?
I mean, I don't mind cursing, but if I ever want my son to watch it, I guess I got to keep it clean.
Maybe like as needed. Like
when extremely necessary.
Yeah. So, I don't want to be the host. I figure we could just kind of,
yeah, just chat.
Just chat.
Yeah.
How long have we known each other?
Oh my God, probably too long.
Softball.
Like it's probably not natural for people that aren't married,
right,
to know each other this long. I think it's weird.
I feel like we go to the movies an unusual amount for two adult men.
Yeah, yeah.
We were doing the math today at breakfast, and
yes, we had breakfast together.
So yes, so we didn't wake up together.
No, we did not.
Not this time.
Not this time.
But so, what? Probably 05, 06. Let's say I graduated from college in 05.
Yeah.
And I started playing softball for a couple
we went through softball, like tri-sports.
Right. And we've probably gone to like 3 or 4 movies per year for the last, I'd say, almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
So probably 56. Let's say conservatively 50 movies we've seen together.
Yeah.
But we have never watched The Big Lebowski.
No.
Which is you go by The Dude Abides, which is your...
yeah, it's like NFS, The Dude Abides, because it's like a work thing, but yeah.
All right, so let's go to topic number 1. We got to talk about The Big Lebowski.
We got the Lebowski shirt. I don't know if you noticed the Jesus.
I did not notice the Jesus.
The Jesus.
Have you seen the new one, the Jesus Rolls?
Yet? No, I have not seen that.
I have not. I own it. I have not watched it. I heard it's very different than The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, I think with stuff like that, or like like the 12 Monkeys series, once something is perfect, I don't really want to like deviate from it too much, because then it kind of like, I don't know, tarnishes the perfection of the original.
I just noticed a little bit of my gut was showing on camera. I had to cover it up. So I rewatched The Big Lebowski last night. I watched it on my Apple Vision Pro, which we'll talk about later in the fourth segment, or fourth block, as they say in the podcast.
Fourth block.
Fourth block. Block D, as they say in the podcast industry or the broadcast industry. So I jotted down some notes. And I figure we could kind of...
Oh, you took notes? I didn't even take notes.
Oh, well, you know the movie probably better than I do.
Oh, yeah.
I've only seen it about 3 or 4 times. To me, when I first watched Big Lebowski, I didn't love it. Like, when I first saw it, all I remembered from it was, over the line! And, like, the whole...
Yeah.
The pointing the gun at the bowling
alley. Market and Nate, dude.
And the room... The rug really ties the room together. Like, I remembered the little stuff, but I didn't pick up on a lot of the subtle humor that I've gotten in successive watchings.
Yeah.
So example 1 of that. So when his landlord comes out to the dude and he's like, "Hey, it's a 10th already."
Yeah.
He's like, "Far out."
Far out.
He doesn't even
just completely ignore it. No, he knows. The dude knows.
It took him a second. Like, you can see him calculate it in his head. Like, okay, this is all right, he wants the rent or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. When they try to execute the handoff of the money, and it goes atrociously bad.
Yeah, horribly bad.
And Walt Kowalski was like, "Oh, it was okay. It was dude's car got a little dinged up. It was like destroyed." And the guy's car keeps getting progressively more and more messed up as the movie goes on.
Yeah. They didn't take the credence, though.
They didn't take the credence. They left the tape deck.
Left the credence.
Let's see. I like when they're watching the porno, and Julianne Moore says, like, "You won't believe what happens next." Like, after the cable guy shows up, and dude's like, he fixes the cable.
Yeah. Very deadpan. Just yeah.
Walt bites the nihilist's ear off.
Oh yeah,
That's pre-Mike Tyson.
That's like classic scene. Like the whole So I don't know if you noticed the nihilists. One of the nihilists is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the bassist.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then another one of the nihilists, the woman, That's Amy Mann. She's a singer, songwriter.
Huh.
So she did the song for Magnolia.
That's a polarizing movie that we should talk about sometime.
Magnolia?
Because it rains frogs at the end, spoiler.
Yeah.
And my brother, Kevin, shout out to Kevin, he says he's lost all respect for me because I paid money for that movie. I own that movie. I love that movie.
It's a good movie.
It's about grief. Like, to me, it's about all the different phases of grief and all the different types of grief. Kind of like how Love Actually is about all the different types of love and relationships. The Magnolia is all about grief. But it's like they couldn't figure out how to end it, so they just made it rain frogs.
Well, it's a biblical thing, right? I mean, it's like wasn't it like a part of the Bible where something happens, it's a sign. I forget exactly what it is, but that's the whole raining frogs thing is like a sign from God.
It's like end time thing.
Yeah, that or like I forget exactly. I have to look when we do that. When we do that one, we'll definitely look it up.
So there was a scene where he's like, "Do you have to use so many cuss words?" And he's like, "Fuck does that mean?" Let's see. What else did I? When Kowalski's like, "This guy walks. I've never been more certain of anything in my life," and then he picks him up and drops him, and he
yeah.
And then they do the crane shot where he's just like on the floor.
Yeah.
And this silence, like where they both realize we messed up.
Yeah. So Walt, as a character in that movie, to me he's really tragic, right? This is obviously a guy that's gone through some things. Like he's always bringing up Vietnam.
Yeah.
And like he's got some mental instability issues, and he's always losing himself. Like he's unhinged, right? But deep down, he's not a bad guy. He just has a lot of problems, right? So like you see it when Donnie dies, right? He's terrible to die the whole movie.
Yeah, just shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Yeah, like the whole movie, and then like Donnie dies, and he's like, oh man, and he's actually human for once, instead of this ex-Vietnam vet guy,
I think it's weird how and it's I'm sure it's intentional or whatever, but like how the dude is like this peace-loving guy, and they talk about what were you doing in college, and he says, I was protesting the war and all that stuff, and Kowalski was fighting in the war.
Yeah, he's his best buddy. They're best friends, but they hate each other kind of. It's like a love-hate thing.
Yeah, so I mean there's just a lot of subtle things about that movie that I didn't realize I was going to enjoy as much as I did.
Yeah, I've watched it probably like 15, 20 times, and every time I've seen it, I pick up something new, right? And it still holds up. It still has things that you didn't notice the first time you saw it. It's very interesting. Like,
is that your most watched movie?
That and like Thor Ragnarok.
Thor Ragnarok's great.
It is great.
Taika Waititi. I'd say Jaws, which is, I've probably seen that. I watch it once a year at least. I usually watch it on July 3rd or July 4th, which is when the climax of the movie happens. And I've probably watched it at least once a year for, since I was 5 or 6 years old. I remember watching it in kindergarten, and I used to watch it all the time when I was little. And my dad owned a VCR repair shop. By the way, fixed Kevin Bacon's VCR. That's our little claim to fame.
It's 1 degree to Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you're doing that, and the reason he explained this to me is that you would use one tape or one movie and have like multiple machines going at once, so that way you could see if one messes up. Like if they're all in sync, then it's fine. So like once they would be fixed, he would like hook them up, and I'm gonna start 5 movies at the same time and whatever. And so if one messes up, you'd be able to see it. So that's why he watched them all the time. So I would hang around in his workshop, and I'd watch. I'd be playing on the old Tandy computer that had like 32 megabytes of RAM.
Yeah.
Like I remember there was this this program. It was like a CD that came with the computer, and it was essentially an encyclopedia, but it had like, I don't know, maybe 50 or 100 things on there. And now like the internet literally...
Like you couldn't fit some images, like pictures on computers back then. Like today, the images you have that are like 100 megs, a gig in size, you couldn't fit it on one of those old computers. It's ridiculous. So
Big Lebowski. I mean, how do we wrap up a Big Lebowski review? What are your favorite scenes? Like, what are your?
So I just want to say, like, as far as quotable movies go, that has to be one of the most quotable movies ever. Because every time you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, there's that quote. Oh yeah, there's that quote. Like Mark Ed and 8, dude. The dude abides.
Yeah.
Was it? What's Walter always say? Or not Walter. The dude says this aggression won't stand.
Yeah.
He's quoting Bush, right?
This is private residence, man.
Yeah, just so many different quotes, and like it's very interesting how many quotes there are. But as far as scenes go, the ear biting scene is one of the best. And then some of the dream sequences he has when he gets knocked out by Jackie Treehorn's guys.
Yeah.
Like he's just they're insane. Like it's an interesting look into his mind of what's going on there.
The music in that movie is great. Just checked in to see what condition my condition was in.
It's Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, I use that a lot of times after a Yankees loss when I do my baseball podcast. Yeah. Just checked in to see how your condition or whatever, and I don't know. I think it's definitely one of the funnier movies of all time. One of the more rewatchable movies in terms of quotable movies. Oh man, there's a lot of good ones. Groundhog Day, which is above me. I've rewatched that this week, and Melissa, the first time she watched that with Melissa's my wife, she didn't realize that like 75% of my jokes and sayings and stuff come from that movie. Like whenever somebody drops something, I'll say, just put that anywhere, you know.
She had to rethink the relationship. Yeah. Wow, this guy actually isn't funny.
He's actually, yeah, it all is Bill Murray.
It's all Bill Murray.
And then like when somebody dies, like obviously in a movie or whatever, I'm like, hey, it might be okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Big Lebowski. You ready for topic number 2? Podcast.
I think I am. I am. Artificial intelligence. That's like my story of my life.
So, I mean, do you work a lot in artificial intelligence?
I work with some. I'm just saying my intelligence is artificial.
No, I think there's probably a different word. It's pretending to be intelligent.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Do you think that AI is going to kill us all?
Yeah, so that's kind of like the running gag, right? Because we all watch the Terminator, movies like that, where basically the AI learns how to become sentient and then realizes the human race is a virus.
Right.
Right. So we know that story. It's interesting because I don't know that that's going to happen, at least not in our lifetimes. But all AI really is it's a bunch of data that computers analyze. And then it tries to learn from. And this is like where things like ChatGPT come in. Right. And this is why when you ask ChatGPT a question, it usually gets stuff wrong. Because where is it getting that information from?
I got a hot take. ChatGPT kind of sucks.
Like, well, for now it does, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'll write stuff quick, but a lot of times it's wrong. It
That's what I'm saying. But where's it getting its information?
Yeah. So
it's getting it from people that are wrong.
Well, it's a large language model or whatever. But I don't know if you can really, like, extrapolate artificial intelligence from consciousness, right? I mean, like, if you think about like a machine that's like an algorithm and just smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter, like you program everything that humans know into it. Let's just pretend you could do that. That doesn't necessarily mean the lights are on. You know what I mean? It just knows all this stuff. And by the people who say that we're going to program artificial intelligence, by saying that, you're making the assumption that consciousness and cognitive ability is just a matter of, a certain amount of data being intertwined, and that naturally creates the emergent property of like a consciousness or whatever. But I don't think that's necessarily the case, So like, I don't know we'll ever produce an actual artificial conscious being. What scares me even more is that the lights are off and something becomes incredibly powerful and incredibly useful or whatever, but doesn't have guardrails. So I mentioned when we were driving over here, the paperclip doomsday scenario. So let me just throw this out there. Imagine there's a company that makes paperclips, right?
Yeah.
And it can be anything, potatoes, whatever. Let's just use paperclips as the example. You say to this artificial intelligence, I want you to make as many paperclips as possible. I'm a paperclip company. I sell paperclips. I need as many paperclips as possible. Well, it might just decide that like the atoms in our bodies are better used for energy to create paperclips, and it will turn the entire observable universe into paperclips unless we interfere with it. Right?
There's actually a TV show or a movie that kind of does that, where it's this conglomerate corporation that its only job is to make stuff, right? and like it makes all this stuff, but it has basically killed all the humans, so nobody can consume it.
Right.
But it still thinks it needs to make stuff.
Yeah, it would be making paperclips long after humans are gone. That's what scares me. The proposition of, another country creating like drones that just randomly take out, Americans or, anybody really. I mean, the weaponized use of AI, data, like stealing data, passwords, hacking, like all that stuff is extraordinarily frightening to me. But there's also going to be a lot of cool stuff that comes out of it. Like I think the first few years.
Yeah, I think that the consciousness thing is definitely a point that is probably not going to happen, right? It's not going to become conscious and become like a human. But what's going to happen is it's going to make zero-sum decisions about who lives and who dies,
right.
or, this person is obviously a bad person because of data.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm going to drone strike this person because, they're not worthwhile.
Well, I mean, talking about the consciousness thing, I mean, that's an actual theory of consciousness. It's called integrated information theory, which is that like as we grow and we get more information, more neural connections, we become more conscious, more aware, or whatever. But there's also like the Nobel Prize last year proved that local realism is false in the universe. So like nothing is tangibly real. Like nothing within space-time that includes you, me, all the information in our heads. There's a level beyond space-time. There's like the amplituhedron and the cosmic polytope, all this mathematical shit that you don't even need to worry about. But like nothing is fundamental in our world. So like there are theories that consciousness actually is the foundation for everything, and that like the space and all that matter rises from consciousness and not vice versa. So if that's the case, then we're not going to be able to create conscious machines. We're going to open portals to new consciousnesses. We're going to open like portals for consciousness to come through. And we know, like, just being human beings, not all consciousnesses are friendly.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, imagine a super intelligent, super evil machine. That's terrifying. That's the Terminator scenario.
Yeah. Or Brainiac.
But there's going to be a lot of cool stuff. Like, the amount of, like, entertainment value that AI is going to have. I've used it a lot in like story writing, and I used it a lot in this podcast I did called Snap, which is about an alligator that takes over this golf resort, kills a bunch of people, eats a little kid.
Is it the Happy Gilmore scenario?
It's somewhat based on that. I have my friend Kurt is a golfer, and in the
by the way, rest in peace, Carl Weathers.
Yeah, rest in peace, Apollo Creed. In the opening scene, my buddy Kurt is golfing, and he gets eaten by an alligator.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I used AI a lot to make that process go smoother. It narrated it with AI voices. I think that type of stuff, like voice cloning and like face cloning and stuff, like we're going to have at some point, like movies starring Brad Pitt and James Dean. And I don't know, like, how it figures out with like the likenesses and stuff like that. There's probably all sorts of legal stuff, but Bruce Willis just sold his likeness.
He did,
to do commercials like as young Bruce Willis because he's got like dementia and he's sick. Like what's to say you can't bring back Elvis and have Elvis do holograms? There's Tupac songs that sound as good as anything he did.
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of like a weird scenario there because like I like the idea of having this be the ability to do that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of that stuff is being done without permission.
Yeah.
Like the stealing of artists' work and like putting it through an AI and then passing it off as your own. It's just like, does it kill innovation? Does it kill human innovation? Do we just rely on these things to do them for us as opposed to actually, doing it ourselves? And it's an interesting way to go. And I'm hoping that people kind of get ahead of the regulation of that before it gets out of hand, because I feel like people are going to start getting their stuff stolen constantly, and it's just going to be chaos.
But I mean, there are some cool things too. Like, so if you look at the logo for our podcast, like the two guys, there's two stick figures. I made that using AI. I didn't use GPT. I used Bard.
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess the Google or
one,
Microsoft or whatever. And I just said two stick figures on a transparent background or a black background or whatever it was, having a good time podcasting and smiling in a mirror image of each other or whatever. And that's what it was. It spit out the first one. It was perfect right out of the gate.
Yeah.
There's been times over the evolution of this where like you try to get something and you can't. Like so my cat Joba died a few years ago, and I tried to create some art. Like I wanted to make some paintings of Joba, and like even using reference pictures, it can't recreate Joba like exactly.
Well, it ends up with like 4 paws on one hand.
Right. It's just slightly different. Like the eyes look weird.
Kill me.
I read something interesting, which is that the things that happen when you're dreaming, like you can't read text, you can't like interact with like light switches, things like that. There's certain you can't tell time. Those are all the things. You can't do math. Those are all the things that AI has trouble with. It's like the exact same things that humans have trouble with when they're dreaming. So maybe we're all just like a dream of a bigger AI.
Yeah, this could be. I mean,
which would suck.
Wow. Would it?
Well, I mean, I don't want to be blanked out of existence when somebody unplugs the AI.
Well, I mean, you think about like Cypher from The Matrix, right? I mean, like
that's true.
He was like all on board with the revolution. Then he was like, you know what? I really miss steak.
And he's like, my brain tells me it's real. It tastes real.
Like, what do I care?
Yeah, what do I care if it's real? I want to be rich. I want to be an actor. That guy was a great like actor. Like he's a great character actor.
Yeah, he is.
Matrix, man, that is. Have you seen the new Matrix movie?
The latest one, no. I kind of gave up after like the third one. I was like, man, this is.
It was awful.
It got a little out there for me.
First one was wild though.
First one was great.
I actually watched it in psychology class in high school, and I remember just being like, my mind was blown by the whole concept, and it, like my mind went to all these weird places. I'm like, this could really happen, and I mean, if you believe what Elon Musk says. Which, there are things that he knows about and things that he doesn't, clearly. But one of the things I do think he knows about is, AI. And he says if you factor in any kind of improvement over time, eventually it's going to be indistinguishable from reality. I mean, I imagine things like what if you go to an arcade, right?
Yeah.
And you put on this little headset and you live an entire life. I think that's an episode of Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
several of those. Yeah.
But like you can like live out an entire life, and there's the holodeck from Star Trek. Like these are concepts now that with AI, I think are not out of the realm of possibility.
Not just with AI though, like with headsets, right?
Technology. We'll get to headsets in just a minute.
Yeah. Just teasing it.
Teasing. A little teaser. That's what podcasters do. We tease. But like I'm psyched about AI. Like I'm using it more and more. I'm finding it. So I run a business, right? I have this company, Stream Ski Media, and it hosts my podcasts and all this stuff. And there were some forms that I needed to fill out for taxes.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not a tax person. I'm not a tax professional. So I created an AI that said act as a tax professional in North Carolina and help me figure out like what forms do I need to send my contractors? What do I need to fill out with the state, with the Secretary of State for like the annual report and all this stuff? And it's extremely helpful for that type of stuff, like the clear black and white stuff. Like legal documents are going to be done through AI and all that stuff. But anything creative, anything where like we have something in our head and we're trying to get it out, it's not going to find it exactly. Like it can't read our minds. It can't innovate the way a human. It's pulling from large language models.
It's great for the mundane stuff that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like taxes. But as you said before, it's not great at math, right? So
I wouldn't use it to actually. I would use a standard calculator for that.
That's good because I'm a little worried about
or a spreadsheet.
The IRS, like, hey man, no, it was AI, dude. So,
but like website coding, that's like something that's amazing. Building new software. It's one of the reasons I'm excited about like Apple and Quest and stuff. The ability for regular people to code now.
Yeah.
Using AI to find errors in the code, to complete particularly tough sections of code. If you know what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, AI can help you get there, I think.
Yeah. Microsoft has a product called Copilot that kind of does that kind of thing where it's like
I've heard of Copilot.
Yeah, it's like a coding helper. I've heard mixed reviews about that as well because, again, it's that whole problem of it takes information it's grabbed on the internet. And it may be right and it may be wrong. It doesn't know that yet until you teach it that it's wrong, right? So it's a work in progress. I think it's going to have to just get better before people start using it regularly. But there are already people, leveraging it for their day-to-day activities and stuff.
All right. I feel like it's time to move on to the next section. And we're going to talk about some documentaries.
Dudes.
By the way, how do you like the dudes? Dudes there.
Dudes. You're dudes, man.
And obviously that's an homage to the Big Lebowski, which is why we did the Big Lebowski as the first topic on the show. But really, it's like, what's up, dude? Like, every time we talk to each other, I never say Justin. It's always dude.
Yeah,
so
dude.
we're the dude. And you always say, hey, dude. So I figured we could just look through my documentaries here and kind of talk. I've almost never seen a bad documentary.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good.
First one I ever saw was Secrets of the Titanic when I was, and that's what got me interested in the Titanic. When I was growing up, we used to go to the libraries, Beekman Library, up the street, and I liked the box. It's like you can see the cover. This is the exact cover art, and I'll put it up in post. There is like a robot. It's called, I think, JJ, and it's exploring the Titanic. And it's got like I thought this was an actual picture, but it's actually like a painting or whatever. But I just thought the box was cool, so I got it. I like shipwrecks now. Like it got me interested in shipwrecks. Narrated by Martin Sheen. To me, this is probably my all-time favorite documentary. What comes to mind for you when I say documentary?
Idiocracy.
That's not a documentary. Although, like, it's turning into a documentary.
Turning into it.
What's the word? There's got to be a word for something like where something is a farce and it becomes real, like or predicts real world.
I don't know, man.
We should coin that.
Did you know that they used Crocs in that movie, and the whole idea behind using the Crocs was, hey, find us the most ridiculous shoes you can find. And have these people wear them because they're idiots. So they found these Crocs, and little did they know that those shoes would become the most popular shoes on the planet.
I've worn many, many Crocs. Documentaries, one thing that I think a lot of people are into, and I'm kind of into this, it's like a weird little dark habit that I want to explore and why people are so into this, is like crime documentaries. Like serial
people
killers.
Really like
and
that. The podcasts and stuff like that on that?
Yeah. I mean,
Serial?
Yeah. Like what's the one where it's like first 48 hours or whatever after a crime? I think it's called First 48. I guess like, unsolved mysteries and things like that. There's something about like the darker side of humanity where watching a documentary about it keeps us at like a distance.
A safe distance, yeah.
A safe distance, but it's very intimate, right? You're interviewing the people who are connected and seeing all these pictures of behind the scenes type stuff, like the Ted Bundy tapes on Netflix. Ted Bundy, by the way, a dick. I just want to establish that he was a dick.
Do not condone his actions.
He was not nice, but the documentary is amazing. Because it follows like he was actually really well documented throughout his whole life because he was in the public eye. He was like an up and coming politician. He was on the news several times. And then like you watch it with the perspective, oh, this guy was like murdering people at this time.
Yeah.
Like in very heinous ways, like cutting off their heads and taking it home.
Horrible stuff, man.
So yeah, the crime documentaries are crazy. What about sports documentaries? What are some good, like the 30 for 30s? What's your favorite 30 for 30?
I don't know. I mean, I don't watch those a whole lot. I haven't seen them a ton.
Did you watch The Last Dance?
I did not yet.
You haven't seen The Last Dance?
I haven't seen The Last Dance. I'll probably watch it with my son. He wants to see it.
Okay, so. Well, that's a good, yeah, okay. First of all, best sports documentary series ever made. And just like the things you learn about Michael Jordan as a competitor. Now, I know you're a Duke fan, and he's a UNC guy, so you have like a natural animosity towards Jordan?
That's actually softened as I've gotten older. Like, I used to like just have a white hot hate for UNC, but now it's like, whatever. It's a game, right? But yeah, like Jordan, Jordan's interesting because you hear about some of the things he's done and how he's acted towards his teammates. And like part of it's like competitive fire, but part of it's just because he's an asshole.
You want to hear an asshole Michael Jordan story?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So back in 2001, I was at UNC Wilmington, and he was coming back from, I guess, retirement with the Wizards.
Yeah.
And the Wizards practiced at UNCW's basketball, and they played like a scrimmage game.
He's from Wilmington, right? Like,
yeah,
he went to Laney, I guess.
Yeah. Or Hannon, one of those.
Yeah.
And so I see him in the training room. He's getting his knees worked on. I was getting my shoulder worked on. And afterwards, I tell my buddy, and we decided, all right, we're going to follow him. So we waited for him to come out, and we followed his car. We followed him to like this restaurant, like, and we were just like pretending to like, hey man, we want to get your autograph. Like we were pretending to run into him. He's like, no, you guys followed me, and he said no about giving us an autograph. So yeah, he was kind of the dick.
I mean, you can't really.
That's fair.
If he knew you were following him, that's like when I was a kid. I was at a Golden Corral and I saw Christian Laettner, famous Duke star.
Everybody hates Christian Laettner.
Well, he was a dick too. I mean, like I went up to get his autograph and like 13-year-old kid, and he's like, "No, go away." Just like, I mean, I guess you have to like look at it from their perspective. Like they probably get that a lot. It's probably annoying, but at the same time, you can be nice about it.
Another great sports documentary for you, from Elway to Marino. It's a 30 for 30 about the draft that. Elway, Marino, and a few other like.
Oh yeah, that was a good draft.
Who was the guy from the Bills?
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly. Yeah, that was an awesome one. Let's scroll through. So I got like 192.
There's a lot of documentaries.
There's a lot of documentaries. Fistful of.
I saw that
quarters.
one.
That one is amazing.
That's a good one.
About this guy who wants to. It's called the King of Kong, a Fistful of Quarters. It's about this guy who plays Donkey Kong. And like spends his life savings trying to
beat the high score.
Beat the high score.
And there's like a huge controversy because like they dispute he actually did it.
Religious, I like that one where Bill Maher goes around the country, and it starts here in Raleigh, North Carolina. He comes to North Carolina and he interviews people about religion. I think that's a good one. Mike Tyson. This one's just called Tyson, where Tyson narrates his entire career and life. And this was even before he became like a little bit more articulate in recent years and started podcasting and his own, he's gotten better. But just hearing him talk about his career was wild. I like the so this one's called Never Sleep Again. It's the Elm Street legacy. It's all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Bond, and it's like 12 hours long. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
What are your favorite like movie behind the scenes type things or whatever?
It's like it's like this documentary draw like for me, like the documentary stuff is like Planet Earth. I really like the Planet Earth series. That's a
good one. Yep.
I like the nature documentaries. Like that's when I think documentary, I think of that, or like the historical biographical stuff is usually pretty good. But yeah,
Ken Burns.
Yeah, the Ken Burns stuff was always really good. Not just the Civil War, but the baseball stuff.
Baseball stuff was great. They should do another one. This one I think you'd really like. It's called Assembling a Universe, and it's about how they built the Marvel universe from the ground up.
Yep.
I think this one came out right before Endgame. So it's like it was like the build up to Endgame, which is very, very interesting. This one's called An Honest Liar. James Randi. He is a guy who would debunk, he's a magician, and he would debunk, like, psychics and people who claim, have you ever heard of Uri Geller?
Yeah, the Bending Spoons guy.
Bending Spoons. So Uri Geller was a guest on The Tonight Show, and so James Randi called up The Tonight Show and explained how to debunk his spoons. He's like, here, you want to use, like, spoons that he didn't bring himself, like, use some regular spoons in the cafeteria, keep them away from him, and then when he got on the live show, he couldn't bend them, right? So he like debunked them. He debunks, like the John Edwards and the psychic mediums and stuff like that. Although I think there might be something to that. Like if there is a spirit world or a non-physical component to consciousness, there could be a way to access it. But I think a lot of them are just charlatans,
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like you said, he's a magician. Does he debunk magic tricks?
So I think he subscribes to the philosophy that like Penn and Teller subscribe to, which is as long as you don't pretend it's real, there's nothing wrong with doing magic.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, this is a trick. We have practiced very hard at this. Like, the hours you spend learning your profession, we've spent learning how to pick your card and make it seem like it's magic.
Yeah. Turning it into like a religion is, that's where the kind of the line is crossed.
Another great one, Dinosaur 13. This is a story of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I forget what they named it. I think it's named. I could be wrong on this, but it's like Lucy, maybe. Let's see.
Lucy was like the.
Oh, that's right. That was like the Neanderthal.
Neanderthal, first Neanderthal.
I forget.
Oldest human or whatever.
It doesn't say. So these people, they found a T-Rex, like a completely intact T-Rex, and they it was a battle with the government to like get it in the country to maintain possession of it, and now it's at the Chicago Museum. What is this? Oh, Nos, Time is Illmatic. Another great one. Nos is amazing.
He is amazing.
Let's see. Got some good ones in here. OJ. Yeah, OJ totally did it. He was
no doubt.
He's also a dick.
No doubt.
I like his Twitter, by the way, because like he'll always be like, "Hello, Twitter world," and he'll go on this like little video rant, and then all the comments are like, "Nice cutting analysis, OJ." Like you really,
he doesn't care. He's getting the engagement.
Yeah. Gilbert. This one is about Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh yeah.
He's just like one of the funniest people to ever live. I don't know if you ever saw his roast right after 9/11.
Yeah. Where
it originally was like the thing that got him like canceled the first time before anybody could be canceled, where he was like, I was trying to get here and I'm a little late because I couldn't find a plane that didn't stop off at the Empire State Building. Like, and this is like a week after 9/11. And he caught some shit for that.
Yeah.
And this one, like, it follows him around. He had all these weird little habits. He had, like, when he would go on the road to, like, a hotel or whatever, he would take the soaps and, like, the little lotions or whatever. He wouldn't use them. He would just keep them. And, like, his wife had, like, boxes and boxes and boxes filled to the brim of these, like, hotel soaps.
Like souvenirs.
People have these weird compulsions, you know? Like, I'm compelled to buy documentaries, as you can tell.
These are all bought.
I own all of these. Let's see here. What else do we got? So, Three Identical Strangers and Won't You Be My Neighbor. Those are the two that I put on the screen there.
Yeah.
I saw both of those at Alamo Drafthouse when it first opened up. Mr. Rogers. Were you ever a Mr. Rogers fan?
Yeah, I was when I was a kid, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch him a ton. I was more watching Nightmare on Elm Street type stuff, but it explains a lot. Yeah. But I really love this look at Mr. Rogers, like his whole career, his philosophy. He was really like, my dad called him a sheep among the wolves, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Very gentle.
Genuine, too.
Genuine guy. Like nothing has come out bad. Like, you know, he didn't have a basement full of, like, kids or something.
He wasn't Ted Bundy, that's for sure.
Right, yeah. And then Three Identical Strangers is a really great one. And if you haven't seen this, and I don't blame you, watch the trailer for it. It's definitely worth checking out. There's this guy, he goes to college. And have you seen it?
No, I have not.
This guy goes to college, and his roommate's like, man, I know a guy who looks just like, I mean, he's got a twin or whatever. And so they call him up, and they were actually twins. And the story went like viral back. This was before viral stuff, but it was like newspapers, and they were on TV or whatever. And then a third one found them both. They were all living within like a 30-mile radius of each other.
That makes sense. I mean, if they're given up for adoption or whatever, yeah.
Well, what it turned out was that it was a social experiment where they were taking like twins and triplets and stuff and separating them to see like nature versus nurture, and they never told them. They never told them they had brothers or sisters or whatever. And they would meet with the parents. The parents would talk with like the doctors and the researchers or whatever. And it's just a really, really interesting.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting. One of them ended up killing himself. Spoiler.
Oh man.
But it's it's definitely worth a watch. I watch a lot of alien documentaries, like this Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with Bob Lazar. He claimed to work at Area 51 or a site near it to work on spacecraft from another planet. Do you believe in aliens?
You know, it's like it's hard to not believe that there's something else out there, because I can't believe that we are the only.
Do you think they're coming here?
I mean, why would they? It sucks here. Hey, let's go to Earth. Nah, we're good.
Yeah.
We're the flyover planet.
Roadrunner, which is what's that guy's name? Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
About his life. That guy was an interesting cat.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
I loved his series, where he would just travel and eat.
Yeah, what Parts Unknown?
People. Yeah,
Yeah, I've got that series. I guess that qualifies as documentary.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Let's see, Artificial Immortality. So this is a documentary about how people are trying to, live forever, and theoretically, and we were just talking about this, integrated information. If consciousness is a result of integrated information, and there's we live in a monist world where there's no spirit, there's no dualism. Theoretically, you should be able to download your consciousness to a machine and make copies of it. I don't believe that can happen. I don't believe it. I'm a dualist. I think that there's a spirit and ineffable quality that exists. But if that's a thing that can happen in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Would you want to be downloaded to a computer? Let's say you're 70 years old and they say, Justin, you got a month to live. You got a terrible disease, and you've had a good life, and this is it. Would you want to be downloaded to a computer, or would you want to just see if there's something else out there?
Depends. Do I know I'm in a computer? Do I know I'm dead?
Well, you'd basically be in an artificial body. You'd be like Data from Star Trek.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one because if I know I'm dead, there'd be can I mourn? Do I have that part of me that allows me to grieve?
Mourn yourself?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is feelings. That's what's different than data. Our data, we can't reverse engineer the feeling of sadness or the feeling of happiness or love or the taste of chocolate. And so there's this guy, his name is Donald Hoffman, and he just got a big grant to study this. He's out of the UC Irvine. And his theory is that consciousness experiences, like the taste of chocolate, whatever, those are the real things. Yeah. And that we are the not real things. You know what I mean? We're a network of agents that are experiencing these things. It's something that's too long to explain in a podcast, but definitely worth checking out. Zach Hampel versus the World. Great documentary about Zach Hampel is a guy who catches baseballs for a living. He goes around the different ballparks and tackles little kids and takes their baseball.
Yeah.
I've seen him in person. He is a douche.
You got to be if you're going to tackle little kids and steal their baseballs.
Yeah. This is what I've been wanting to watch, called Cat Daddies, because I'm a cat person. I'm a cat guy.
Anyway, did you ever watch that Cat Whisperer show?
I have not. What is that?
It's the guy who they had they had the Dog Whisperer. Well, they had a cat guy for that as well. His name was Jackson Galaxy or something.
Yeah.
And he would go and train cats that were having behavioral issues but that's where we learned about the slow blink.
Huh. Eye kisses. That's what we call it. Eye kisses.
So you did slow blink. That's the way to calm the cat. Well, Jackson Galaxy taught me that from.
So yeah, we call that eye kisses. We have this cat named Dexter, named after the serial killer Showtime show. And he doesn't like to be picked up or held or snuggled or whatever, which is the whole point of having a cat. We don't have any mice running around. We want something soft and squeezable that will love us, but he doesn't. He eats our food and
thanks.
Doesn't
Bye.
See you later.
He's a teenager.
Yeah. And he's only 2, so hopefully he'll come around. Or not even 2, he's one and some change. So hopefully he'll come around. But he will occasionally stand in the corner of the room and give us the eye kisses. Just the stoic. I know you guys. You're the ones that give us.
I acknowledge you.
Yeah. I guess you're not horrible. I guess I don't have to kill you in your sleep.
Steal your breath.
All right, let's talk about some VR and break out the Apple Vision
All right,
Pro.
let's do this.
So I went and picked this up yesterday. This is the Vision Pro. I'll take the cover off. As you can see, it's got a gigantic glass.
Yeah, it looks like you're skiing.
Very fragile. So it came with a cover. It's extremely heavy. You want to pick it up?
Oh wow, you got to wear that on your head.
Yeah, I mean you don't have to, and
I mean
you don't have to pay $4,000 for the privilege.
Well, you don't have to.
Yeah,
I mean, like if you buy it, you're gonna wear it on your head.
So last night I watched a movie on it. I watched Big Lebowski. It was about I think the movie was about like 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And I took some breaks like halfway in between to explore the different apps. Right now, there's not a lot to do in it. So the reason I got it, there's two reasons I got it. One, I have a real problem with like when I'm watching a movie or a show, I'll do this. I'll pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And I'll scroll. My wife does it too.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that.
It's compulsive.
I don't mean to do it, but my brain like it's there. It's something to do, and that causes my media literacy to be abnormally low. I feel like I don't take away stuff from movies and stuff that I want to take that other people take that I take away when I'm in the theater.
Right.
So what I wanted was the ability to watch a movie on like a gigantic movie screen without having my phone nearby or whatever. But now I've realized that the fucking Messages app comes through. Like if somebody texts me, it comes through the Vision Pro because that happened yesterday. But I wanted to be able to watch movies and stuff and just not be distracted and still have them be in like 4K quality.
Yeah.
Which like I have the Oculus Quest also, not as good. The Oculus Quest I like for video games.
Right. Like
I play a ping pong game, a tennis game, a boxing game. Like it's good for exercise. But it's not great for sitting and movie watching. Mm-hmm. I found that the Vision Pro is actually really good for that, except for the heaviness. Like it's very heavy. It's not super comfortable. After about 45 minutes, my nose was hurting.
Oh yeah, 'cause it's like hanging out there.
Yeah, I think there will be it comes with a cushion. I think there'll be better cushions that are magnetic that you can attach. People will come up with stuff. It's brand new technology. It's not for everybody.
It'll also get lighter as the components get smaller and that sort of thing.
Right. The other reason is, so like when I'm doing my baseball podcast, I have this iPad here that you can see or whatever. And what I do is I type my monologue. I start off every show with about a 7 to 10 minute monologue of, here's what I was thinking going into the game. Here's a funny baseball story. Here's a funny joke. And here's the recap of the game. And it's about 7 to 10 minutes. And then I take about 10 minutes of audience questions. And then you mix in a couple of minutes of just like sound effects and stupidness. And that's what my podcast is. And it does very well. But I wanted to be able to have basically a 3 or 4 dimensional, I guess it's 3-dimensional workspace where I can have the game up on a screen and have my notes and then also have like, internet and stuff and not be going back and forth between a million different devices and stuff.
Right.
But also have like the immersive sound of the game. Because it's got like spatial audio and like, hearing all the announcers and really paying close attention. So that's what I'm looking forward to being my most... I plan on sitting down every game and plugging this thing on and watching the game and, doing my work. My one concern so far is that it's heavy. Like it's way heavier than I thought. Have you done any VR stuff?
No, I've not done any VR stuff. I usually just waiting for it to get better.
Yeah. I feel like, there are some VR like games and apps and stuff that are really cool. So Vision Pro has like a chess game.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how to play chess, but I might try and learn because it's like you literally just grab it and move your chess pieces. It's very cool. It's in it's like it's in the room. 3D modeling and that type of stuff is pretty cool. I like on the Vision Pro, there is a game called Beat Saber. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with like
Fruit Ninja?
I don't know what Fruit Ninja is, but like, oh yeah, where you slice the fruit. Yeah,
Rock Band.
Rock Band is probably the closest, or like Guitar Hero. So you're in like a hallway, and there's these blocks coming at you, red and blue, and they have different like arrow pointers, like down, up, and you have to slice through the blocks with the beat with your little joysticks. And it's good exercise. Like if you do 5 songs, it's like a 15-minute good cardio, intense workout.
Yeah.
And I like to do it with like I'll strap wrist weights on.
Weights, yeah.
Yeah, wrist weights on, and and to me it's like it's a good workout.
Plus, you're training for the zombie apocalypse.
Yes. Although if the zombies come, I'm dead. I'm slow. I have too specific of a diet. Like I can't.
Well, your diet will be brains. No.
Well, yeah. Though eventually it will be. Yes. We should do a zombies show. I feel
there's a lot of content.
There's a lot of zombies. Like that's what I mean. Like we could go for zombies for longer than we went on documentaries.
Probably could. Yeah.
But
I'd actually be able to contribute a little more too.
So okay. Let's get into it. Zombies. What is your favorite zombie show?
Man, like, there's all sorts of different takes on zombies, right? So you have like the origins of zombies being either a virus or some sort of government experiment. You know, there's the idea of zombies being like slow. There's zombies that are fast. There's the sentient zombie. Like, you ever seen Warm Bodies?
Yes, that's a good one. With
Nicholas Hoult. So like, you know, it's like there's a lot of good different takes. So Walking Dead, of course, first like I don't know 7 seasons for me.
Yeah.
After that, it's like
I stopped watching when Rick left.
I stopped when they killed Glenn.
Oh yeah, that was rough.
I was like, man,
that was brutal.
That was brutal, man.
Yeah. When we didn't need the zoom in of his head and his like eyeball twitching.
It was like excessive. Yeah.
I think a lot of people were turned off by that.
I think so, yeah. Like, and then they had the Fear of the Walking Dead.
I never got into that.
That was actually not bad. There's some episodes they've had that are like memorable. Like, so like my most memorable episode for me for Walking Dead was the one in the prison.
Yeah.
Where he's like he thinks he's on the phone with his wife, and she's actually dead, and he's just losing his shit.
Yeah.
Like he's obviously going crazy, but that's a really powerful one for me. And then in the Fear of the Walking Dead, there's a scene where I guess these raiders have like killed this guy or have been torturing him. And the way they tortured him was they set him on the edge of this cliff. They cut off the top of his head so his brain's exposed.
Yeah.
And the birds are coming and pecking at him.
That's not very nice.
And he's still alive. He's like, ugh.
It would be cool to kind of have a VR zombie game, like where you're getting chased by zombies and you got to fight zombies and stuff, but you don't have to risk getting actually bit by zombies. The Last of Us.
Yeah, Last of Us.
I'm 3 episodes in. So I just watched the Nick Offerman one where he saves that guy and they become like this like
friends,
married couple or whatever. I don't know if they're married or whatever. I guess
they're married.
At the end,
they're together.
Like to me it was like some of the greatest television.
Yeah.
Like, there's something cool about the survivalist. Like the survivalist mentality, people who are I don't have that. I can't
I'd be dead.
I get DoorDash way too often. Like I would.
Like, I got to eat this rat. Nah, that's good.
No,
I'm good.
I'll just shoot myself in the head. We're good.
I don't want to eat a rat, man. I'm not sorry.
Yeah, it's like I remember a long time ago, Melissa and I did a podcast, and it was like I think we were talking about time travel, and she's like, when I have to go places that don't have air conditioning, and I was like, oh my God, you would not do well in a zombie apocalypse.
She wouldn't do well traveling in like different countries. Like, like Europe. Europe has places with no air conditioning. Like,
I grew up. I didn't have air conditioning in New York. We had a basement, so you got too hot. I remember the summer of 94, 95. Those 2 years were really hot up there, and all I did was hang out in the basement and play Sega Genesis and watch the OJ trial and play ping pong and eat ice pops. And it was the best 2 years of my life. 2 years of the OJ trial and Sega Genesis.
Now, if the zombie apocalypse is like that,
yeah, that wouldn't be so bad.
It's not so bad.
I mean, I think about like the pandemic, right? Obviously, a lot of bad things happened from the pandemic. A million people died or whatever, and people lost their savings and shit like that. But a lot of good came out of it too, like no contact delivery.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's almost worth the death and destruction.
Whoa. I don't have to talk to anybody anymore?
Yeah. Zoom calls, not having to go into an office for most people. I was already working at home, but a lot of people just never went back to the office.
Like being like standoffish from people, you can now chalk up to being socially distant.
So I'm crossing off the Apple. We've gotten far enough away from the Apple.
Oh yeah, we've veered off into virtual reality,
into zombies.
Yeah, zombie reality.
But I feel like this was a pretty solid episode 1. What should we call it? What should we call this episode?
Oh man,
I feel like we should come up. I think this should be our thing. At the end of every episode, we should come up with the title for the episode.
Mark it in 8.
Mark it an 8. I like it. I was thinking it really ties The Room together.
That's also ties. Yeah, that's a good one too.
All right.
You know what's great about that show is I learned a word, or that movie is I learned a word from it. Before that movie came out, I never knew what micturate meant.
What is micturate?
It means peeing on something.
Oh,
he micturated on my rug.
I must have missed that. I didn't catch.
I was like, oh, micturate.
Media
That's
literacy.
a good word.
I was probably looking at a text message in my Vision Pro. All right. Well, thanks for episode number 1, and
man,
we'll be back.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
We will be back soon, and we are the dudes.
The dudes.